Coming up today on The Chat, has the battle over who wore it better gotten even nastier over the years? And which celebrity father makes his kids ride coach while he and his wife kick their feet up in first class? We've got a lot to talk about on this Good Friday, so let's get started.
Welcome to The Chat. I'm Catalina Allures. We have Melissa and Angelia joining us on this Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Yes. Now, was anyone fasting today? As the bad Catholic I am, I was not fasting. I'm sorry. No. I get very hangry and no one wants that at my job.
That's why I brought Peeps for everybody. I brought Peeps for the whole studio. Peeps make everybody happy on Good Friday.
I can't wait to see that. And you know, the fasting thing is so wonderful, but I never make it.
I can't.
I never make it.
I'm sorry, Mom. It was never in the cards for me. I'm sorry. All right. Well, let's get started with the outing that on Survivor of a cast member on television that has sparked outrage, and rightfully so.
Why haven't you told anyone you're transgender?
Your mic's not on.
Zeke Smith says he never used his gender identity as a tool in the show's games because it's personal. But another player, Jeff Varner, called Smith out as a deceptive person on the air for not telling everyone he was trans. Social media lit up with outrage at how this went down. CBS's decision to include that part in the episode in the first place was also questioned. I mean, it's definitely messed up, especially because we know that Jeff Varner is gay himself, and so it's almost that much more of a slap in the face to disrespect someone's choice of when to come out, and that he just did it. It's so super disrespectful.
I think so too, and I would say, in addition to that, the network's decision to air that segment. I mean, people can say ill-advised things and hurtful things, and lots of people do that all the time. But ultimately, I think it's on the network for putting that out there to a national audience and not thinking that through a little more carefully.
Well, they had 8 months to think about it.
Yeah.
Whenever this actually, was good to be aired. You know, was Tuesday night, I think it was, wasn't it? And then they had 8 months to think about this, to go over it. But I have a really good quote, and this was actually from Zeke, and I thought it was really important to read. It says, "A person's gender history is private information, and it's up to them, and only them, when, how, and to whom they choose to disclose that information," he wrote. "Keeping your gender history private is not the same as a gay person being in the closet." And I think that's really important to actually talk about, because I feel like this guy had come from a place of anger, and I know I hear it a lot in the gay community of whenever someone is not being organic in being gay or saying that they're gay openly, a lot of gay people have a problem with that. And so I think maybe he was coming from a place of anger, unfortunately, and taking it out on Zeke, but it really had nothing to do with Zeke, I think, but I think it was totally disrespectful. It was wrong across the board to call anybody out on any part of their life, no matter what it is.
It's private for a reason.
Whatever thing it is, you're not talking about it because it's your life and it's your decision to talk about what your future is.
And not only that, transgender people face sometimes real physical danger.
Absolutely.
When they're outed. And so, as the quote points out, being in the closet is that's a personal decision whether or not to come out, and that's everyone's personal journey. Transgender people in particular are so poorly understood in this society, and often face not only just bullying and trouble finding jobs, but they can be physically threatened.
Real persecution, yeah.
And so to out someone like that is really, I think, a hostile, irresponsible
because you don't know
act.
who's in Zeke's life. You don't know necessarily where Zeke is living, the kind of people that he's surrounded. So if maybe he didn't come out as transgender because maybe he's scared for his safety. You don't know. None of us know, and that's his business to reveal it. Now, I know that a lot of people are saying that, why would the network air this episode? Why wouldn't they do that? Well, they were actually they tried very hard to make sure that they could address this as appropriately as they could, and they worked with Zeke specifically. Zeke had to give the okay to even show this moment, and then they worked with GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, they consulted with them to say, how is the best way? How can we address this? And I mean, the way that they did, it's the best case scenario for something so ugly.
But, but they missed an opportunity to educate people, I think, about the transgender community, because most Americans still really, it seems to me anyway, don't understand this community very well and don't understand where they're coming from. and some of the struggles that they deal with. So for me, I kind of see it as a missed opportunity to educate and enlighten the public.
I think maybe by opening up the door and allowing this to be seen is probably going to open the door in many aspects. It's going to help a lot of the transgender community and help a lot of people who don't understand the transgender community. So with everybody delving into it and to actually try and figure out what happened and why it happened. But I did like the host, Jeff Probst of the show.
By the way, he's been on since the dawn of time.
I know, right? I know.
How long has this guy been
Crazy.
hosting this show?
But at least he did call them out in the midst of this.
Yeah.
And he was making it a spectacle and saying, you can't do that. You can't call
Because he
someone
knew,
out.
so he was instantly protective of Zeke, knowing that no
Yeah.
one else except for very few people on that production crew knew that he was transgender.
But I
Right.
think that was great that they aligned and they sided with him and they took his side. I
Yeah,
love that.
that was
All right,
amazing.
well, moving on now to a type of drama. Battles over prom dresses. It's prom season. And in an effort to make sure no one wears the same dress to prom, there are actually social media groups for girls to post their dress and sometimes even warn those other girls not to wear the same one. The creator of one of many pages said that she started it after a huge argument occurred at last year's prom. Two girls in the same gown, they actually fought to the ground. Who bought it first? So let's talk about this. You have a daughter, Melissa.
I have two.
Two daughters,
That's right. That's right. I always think one. So you, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? If your daughter wore the same dress to prom, or if she wanted to post it online, don't wear it.
Right.
This is mine.
My older daughter is getting ready to go to a middle school dance. So it's all the talk right now, what they're going to wear, and it's a big deal.
Are they sharing
And-
or are they not wanting to share?
You know, she started on this phase of not telling me things.
There
what I
it is.
Which is
figured.
really brand new, and so I have no idea. But all of that said, when I was in high school, this reminded me of something. When I was in high school, of course, we didn't have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We didn't have any of that. We just showed up in our dresses. Well, my senior prom, two girls showed up in the same dress, and it was ugly. It got ugly. And it was this whole little scandal, and it was this, and these were two really,
Did they fight?
alpha females.
Oh,
No, it didn't come to like physical fighting, but they were just really uncomfortable and really angry at each other, and it was just so horrible. And I don't,
Oh
I know.
my
Why? When you're
It's-
a teenager, this is the only thing in the whole wide world.
Yeah, but when you're a
This is
teenager,
so
it's
important.
so- I mean, even as a
Pimples and
woman.
prom are important.
But here's the thing.
It is. There's this huge build up to the prom, and
Yes.
the dress is everything, and I remember that vividly. Like there was this
God.
incident at my senior prom.
I had the complete opposite at my senior prom. I had two girls show up in the exact same dress, and it was more of like a, I see you.
Yeah. See, I think
And that was it. There was
Yeah.
no words exchanged. No one cared.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah, because here's the thing, is that it's so difficult already, one, being a teenage girl. Nearly the biggest headache anyone could ever have. Two, it's so hard to shop for your body type sometimes, no matter what it is. So
True.
if you find a dress, because I had this happen to me, I went and found the perfect prom dress. I mean, I've been busty my whole life, and proportions are weird, so it's hard to find a dress. This one was perfect. And it was at a store in the Orange Park Mall. And my mom and I she's like writing the check, we're about to buy it, and the woman is flipping through her book. And she's like, I'm so sorry, you can't buy this dress because someone at your school already did.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
We
they're
take a
keeping
loss.
track.
So they were keeping, so they had an exclusivity.
The prom police.
And I couldn't wear it. And so I found like a dress that was, it was okay. I looked like a mermaid. It was
that's
okay.
too bad.
But
That's too
so
bad.
then it's like, what's the point? Like, if you find something that looks good on your body and you feel confident, that's
Sure, why
important.
not?
If you see another girl wearing the same thing, she feels the same way that you do, and there's nothing wrong with that. You both feel really good in a gorgeous dress.
Well, I've
Yeah.
competed in pageants for many years, you guys know, and I mean, we've had this happen on many occasions where girls will show up in the same dress, and they keep logs at certain places,
Yeah,
but
of
other
course.
places, if you're just walking in to get a gown, you can get whatever you want. And there's so many times that they've shown up in the same dress, and girls can be catty. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
One pageant that I competed in, there was a girl who actually ripped the other girl's dress.
No way.
No lie, she ripped the other girl's dress behind the stage, and she was not allowed to wear that dress, so she had to get another dress borrowed from one of the
that's
other girls that
terrible.
brought a backup dress.
That's so mean.
It's happened before.
No.
It happens
Oh
all the
my
time. I
God.
mean, there's only so many gowns out there. I mean, how many gowns can you actually produce?
See, for me, that's the key. Like, there's this idea with the prom that my dress is so important and no one else can look like me. It's my moment to shine and be singular and stand out and be the princess. I think that's where this is coming from, and I think the way you described it is the best way to handle it.
Of course, it's so hard to
get
find a
away from
dress.
that idea. Yeah.
But it's also, I feel like guys, they never look the same. You know, guys
they
will
don't
do
care.
they'll do their tennis shoes with a jacket, and guys always look so different. And no, they're not going to worry about anybody
No,
else
not
wearing
at
the
all.
same thing. But girls, we want to be different. We don't want anyone to look
Chill
like us.
out, everyone. Just
I don't want somebody in the
relax
same
and have
dress.
fun. Have fun. All right, moving on. Someone who would probably tell these kids to also get over it, like I'm saying, just get over it. Chef Gordon Ramsay. Ramsay has made a fortune as a TV chef, but he says his 4 teenagers will never see any of it. He says, quote, "It's definitely not going to them." And that's not in a mean way. It's to not spoil them. The only thing I've agreed with Tana, his wife, is they get a 25% deposit on a flat, but not the whole flat being an apartment. Now, Gordon is dead serious about not spoiling them. When they fly, they don't even get to sit with him and his wife. He said, quote, "They don't sit with us in first class. They haven't worked anywhere near hard enough to afford that." I'm impressed. At first I thought it was a little mean, but then the way that he points it out, they haven't worked nearly as hard as I have.
I think this is
Makes
awesome.
sense.
His oldest, Megan, is 18, and she gets $167 a week. She's at uni right now, and she gets $167 a week. That's it. She has to pay for her own bus fare. She has to pay for her own iPhone. She has to pay her bill for her iPhone. And I think that's brilliant. Because if you're going to instill these values in children, they're going to be successful. And if you don't instill those, the success is not there. The drive for success is not there. And this guy is a successful, uber successful guy. He made $60 million in a 12-month period.
Oof.
He's worth he's worth like $250 million.
I wonder though, like how much of this is his shtick? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's a tough guy.
Yeah, like he's so invested in this persona of being so tough and mean, and even with my own kids, you know, I mean, I agree with you that he shouldn't just hand everything to them. But part of me is a little cynical and thinking, I'm sure this is just.
Is he really leaving? Is he
Yeah,
really
I mean,
leaving his kids in coach?
I think he's going to give plenty of money to those kids eventually. That's just my take on this guy.
So.
I don't think he's going to cut them off.
He's really good friends with David Beckham, you know, Victoria Beckham and David Beckham, because they used to play football together, I guess, back in the day, and then they invested in a restaurant together. And the Beckhams raised their children the same way. They're not giving the children their, you know, all of their fortune. They're actually making the kids work, and I think that's great. I think that's a really good thing. But they were comparing him to the Super Nanny. Do you guys remember the Super Nanny?
Are you kidding me?
Right?
I used to watch
Everybody
the Super
loves
Nanny.
the Super Nanny.
My kids and I would sit and watch the Super Nanny all the time, and I would look to my girls, and my husband would too, and we'd be like, "Girls, if you don't start shaping up, I'm calling the Super Nanny." And they would just look at us like, "No, Mom, please don't do that."
But that's what they're comparing him to, because he makes them chores list. He actually makes a manners chart for the kids, and he has a cooking roster for the kids.
Yeah.
So the kids have all of these things to do, and they're, you know, they're not even full teenagers yet, some of them. So they all have lists of things to do. But I think he runs his household like he runs his business, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
I think it's great. Fantastic.
I agree.
Let those kids grow up normal. It's not gonna
My only fear
make them any
is,
harm.
you know, are they going to come out 10 years later and say, "My childhood was a hellscape. He was so mean."
It was a
We may
sweatshop.
cover that story later.
Oh my God, who knows? Who knows? All right, well, coming up next, possibly the coolest professor ever. I mean, she has her very own comic character. We'll introduce you to her after the break.